And there's YouTube at 49 strong. Okay, good evening, everybody. And welcome to a bedtime story edition of Reading with Mr. Carty. Because it's a bedtime story edition, got to get my sleeping cap on. So when I finish here, I can get straight to bed. Don't have to worry about anything else. Got my jammies on, already brushed my teeth. Sleeping cap. Mr. Scufflebottoms asked for a blanket this time, so he'd be a little more cozy. So I thought I would accommodate him. And I'm very excited this evening to read The Tale of the Mandarin Duck by Bette Midler and photographs by Michiko Kakutani. And I actually was not familiar with this book. Miss Kathy gave this to me, and I like it for many reasons. First, it's based on a true story. And what I did not know is that I guess back in 2018, there was actually a Mandarin duck that was found in Central Park. And Mandarin ducks are not usually native to New York City. And it really got people's attention. And this story is about kind of how it got people's attention and changed their thinking a bit. The other thing I like about this book is it is National Women's Day, and it's written by Bette Midler, who's a very accomplished entertainer. And the photographer, Michiko Kakutani, is a very accomplished literary critic. Between them, they won Pulitzer Prizes, Grammy Awards, Tony Awards, Emmy Awards. So thought it would be a nice evening to celebrate two very accomplished women. Okay. And one other thing about this book is the photographs are tremendous. So I'm going to do my best to share them to the screen so that you can see them as we read. Okay. So without any further ado, we will begin our bedtime story tonight, The Tale of the Mandarin Duck, a modern fable. There's a lesson to learn here too. First picture here, some of you may recognize that. If I'm not mistaken, that's looking across the lake there at Central Park. You may recognize the setting here of the story pretty quickly. This is a story of rare birds, both feathered and human. You can see the sketches there of all different kinds of people. Once upon a time, not very long ago, there was a great city built on an island that was famous for its people. There were many kinds of people living there: artists and writers, salespeople and stockbrokers, people who worked with their hands, butchers, bakers, and perfume makers, people who drove cabs, trucks, and trains, people who fixed streets and cleaned streets. So many different kinds of people doing so many different things. And here's all those different kinds of people. And here's a picture of the city they live in. You might recognize that picture. I think we may be some of those people she's talking about. But no matter what they did, these people were world famous for their liveliness. They talked to each other everywhere, in elevators, on subways, in restaurants. They would gather in little groups on street corners and tell each other jokes or discuss the daily news of their city and laugh uproariously. They yelled, sang, and generally had a good time. They looked each other in the eye and pretty much liked what they saw. It sounds like a day at 49. There they are doing all those cool things, communicating, being with uproarious laughter, and another nice New York City picture, huh? Oh, I gave away the setting, sorry. Couldn't resist. Then an invention came into their lives. It was a new version of an old invention. It was a telephone, but you didn't have to put in a quarter or go somewhere special to use it. You could carry it in your pocket or purse or backpack, and with this telephone, any question you could think of could be answered. Any song could be heard. Any person on earth could be found. And most important, it was a camera, and you could photograph anything and everything, especially yourself. Everyone really liked that. It wasn't long before everyone in the city had one. I'll bet you know some people who have a phone like this. You might even have one yourself. Well, it sounds like a great invention. I don't know what the problem is. You do all that great stuff with it. Anyone know what kind of phone they're talking about out there? In a very short time, people were not the same. All of them were bent over the small screen in their hand. It was as if nothing else existed. And I think this reminds me of, well, even me sometimes. I think of all of us. No one's really paying any attention to each other anymore, just staring at their phone. Then one day, something happened that changed many people in the city, maybe forever. Little foreshadowing here, maybe, some hints of what's going to happen. Some feathers floating around of different colors. Let's find out. A new bird came to town, and I love this picture. Isn't it an awesome bird? Beautiful duck. I don't think I've ever seen one like it. Not in the park, that's for sure. No one had ever seen a bird like this. Many birds are very beautiful, but this bird was extraordinary. He was a Mandarin duck. When bird lovers heard he was in the pond, they ran to see him. I like this. You've got some sketches here of everybody running to see him. Okay, and what's interesting, when you look carefully at everybody running to see him, none of them have something in their hands like they did before. But I like the picture too. It shows some, very nice looking ducks. But then you look at this one in the end and wow, beautiful, very special. Word spread about the duck, and soon people began flocking to look at him. Wouldn't you? It was the most exciting thing to happen to the city in a long time. How did this duck get there? Where did he come from? Who was this duck? The crowds were immense, which means very big. Everyone had their phones up, taking pictures of the Mandarin Duck. Now everyone's back, and they've all got their phones out again, taking pictures. But who can blame them? Look at this beautiful duck. I think I'd probably be guilty of taking a picture or two myself. Then one day, a kid in the crowd said very loudly, "I am going to see this with my own 2 eyes." Figures, it takes a kid to kind of help us get straightened out, show us what's important. Then she put her phone away and just watched the Mandarin Duck be what he was. Something so rare that he had to be seen with your own 2 eyes and remembered with your heart. So the grown-ups put their phones down too and just watched. They watched long and hard. What an effect this bird had on people. They just loved him. And there they are, all just watching. Thanks to one smart kid up there who said, you know what, forget the phone. I just need to see this. And again, who can blame her? What a beautiful duck. As the crowds left the park, they talked about what they had seen with their friends and with strangers too. Little groups of people began to gather to discuss how wonderful it was to see such a rare and beautiful sight with their own eyes. Look what happened when everybody put their phones down and just looked at the duck. They all started talking to each other, discussing it. No one's staring at their phones. Oh, cool. Soon after that, the people put their phones away. Their old habits returned. They talked, they laughed, and sometimes they even sang. They looked each other in the eye and pretty much liked what they saw, and all because of the Mandarin Duck. They're all happy again. Why? Because of this little guy right here. Then, one day, the Mandarin Duck flew away. And I like this picture because the duck's gone, but if you continue to leave your phone down, all right, still a beautiful picture here that you can see with your very own eyes. Everyone missed him, but he had worked his magic. He had reminded the people in the city, the artists, the writers, the butchers, bakers, and perfume makers, and everyone else, to look at the world with their own 2 eyes. And if they did, they would see that all around them are rare and beautiful birds with and without feathers. The end. And then at the end, actually, the photographer includes some pictures. I'm assuming that she must have taken of the duck when it was in and around New York City. So, like I said, this book was new to me, but I really appreciate Miss Kathy bringing it to my attention, because I do think, aside from the fact that it takes place here, and aside from the fact that it's written by two very talented and accomplished women on International Women's Day, I think it's got a great lesson that, once we finally do get through all this, I know we're all guilty of being on our phones all the time, including me. You probably all see me doing the same thing at dismissal and entry and walking around the building trying to keep up with work. But how important it is maybe that we all just stop, put everything down, and kind of take things in with our own eyes, and then maybe even talk to each other about it, as opposed to texting or messaging or things like that. So something to think about, all right? Hope you all take the time each day to put everything down, okay, and just kind of enjoy what's around you and see what's out there, okay? So that's it for tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed. I got to get Mr. Scrufflebottoms here off the couch and up to bed, and everyone have a great evening, okay? Good night, 49.